if I'm currently streaming. I might be streaming. In fact, it looks like I am. So I'm doing a test right now because yesterday I was streaming. First, I did a stream on YouTube to see if I can get better gaming quality. And then I did another stream on Restream, and that worked. I mean, we're doing it again right now. But when you create a stream on Restream and you send it to a destination, which in this case, I'm currently only sending it to YouTube, although I will likely implement Twitch really soon just because why not? And it might be better for gaming. I really gotta do some research on that. Now, apparently, it does not like my bitrate setting, and it's quite interesting because, like, I get different answers wherever I go. And one thing I don't know right now, if I'm 30 seconds into a stream, what happens if I stop and start it with the same stream key? Oh, we're gonna find out. And one thing I always get annoyed about is I always gotta look out for this here because when I initiated this stream on Restream, it did not automatically select this. And if you don't select no, people can't leave comments or chat last time I checked. But anyway, we got it up right here, and we're gonna find out. I'm just gonna hit stop and start. Now, apparently this isn't even connected to my streaming software right now. So I don't know if there's like a delay from the time I saved that setting, or if this is like not even existent right now, you know, if it's non-existent. And that is, you know, part of this test is like, you know, instead of going live for a serious stream, I need to find out what's going on here. That's funny. Wakazashi's Tea House posted this comic book cover, and basically, I guess, you know, which one is better, red or standard color? Then I made a joke. I said that this is quite asinine. And then down here, Nosferatu, the vampire, left a comment, and he was remarking at how beautiful the ocean looks, obviously, in this version here. And yeah, the ocean is beautifully done. And then I added on to say that Stradiversity would have a, you know, fit over that battle axe. Is it axe? Oh, sorry, I didn't notice that for some unfathomable reason. These guys are funny. You just have to really squint and see the bottom next to the bottom. All right. Well, anyway, getting back, I went to YouTube for a different reason because I want to see what it says. Okay, I'm running a live stream according to this, but this does not agree. And this is precisely why I'm checking this out right now, because yesterday I had a couple of streams with the wrong name on them, and we're going to fix this. Apparently, I never posted that video. Oh yeah, I wanted to maybe redo the edit and add some music to it. So I have... Well, that's kind of interesting. So, I mean, I'm fine with it because it's working basically. I can literally delete this. I just gotta edit the date on this one here. So we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna delete this one here. Then I'm gonna go to this and change the year. Still, this numeric keypad is like not in the right place. Like, technically it's in the exact place it should be. In fact, maybe that's my problem. Maybe I need to just put it next to the keyboard like this. But whenever I put it like this, you know, logically I would think this would be more ergonomic, you know, but it just gets all awkward over here. And I have a volume control on my mouse that I forget all about. I mean, I put it there, I set it up, but when I press the rocker buttons here, it changes the volume. So anyway, where was I? Okay, so we got this. I believe it saved the change, although It didn't give me the option to save when I hit edit the first time, so I don't know what that's about. But in any case, we have this, thumbnail. We have this, and right now the category is entertainment, I believe. But I would have preferred to set it to people and blogs or some garbage like that. Although now I can't even find the option, so I mean it's not that important. Oh, did not mean to hit that back button. Okay, so now we're gonna call this one number one, so that I can differentiate between number one and number two. Because now we're gonna cut off the stream, and so this guy says it's running for 4 minutes. This one should concur, because now we're gonna cut off this. And the delay, the latency is not that bad, which is cool. Oh, and there's another thing I gotta test, because when I use StreamYard or any streaming platform, I want to use sound effects. But right now in OBS, the sound effects go through my main sound card. So if I, make a sound, and I also have people talking to me on the same headphones, that's going to be a problem, because then I have to mute one or the other. So my solution is to create another sound device, and I believe it's already set up. And so that means I can either add another audio track. I don't think it'll let me do it now, but I can add that in as track number 5, or I can force that audio track to share with my desktop audio, which would be entirely fine as long as I'm aware that, it's doing something. However, it looks like it's not actually showing my virtual sound device, which is interesting because I'm somewhat sure I plugged it in already. If we go here to the Windows sound settings, yep, we have a Corsair headphones right here that I'm not using, but they're plugged in. Windows should be able to play the test. Like I only bought these so I could experiment with surround. Okay, what? Okay. I can hear them. So we know that the operating system can talk to the headphones, and that they are listed here as a output device. And apparently right now my operating system thinks I want to use it as a communications device. So I had to change my default. But why does OBS not see it? I mean, it says speakers, Steam virtual device, my main microphone. Here we are, my headphones. Okay, so my headphones are listed here, so I guess I just have to use them. So now this brings me to another question. Can I add an audio source independently? Well, I can unhide everything and go through the list and see if there's anything relevant here. But no, there's not. So let's see here. What's the more effective way? Because I could switch my desktop audio. I could do that. So actually, this is not a big issue, because I can go to properties and say, use my Corsair headphones. And essentially what it's going to do now is it's not going to listen to sound that comes out, because my sound card is not being picked up anymore. When I click on the volume to test out, I'm hearing a little dunk dunk. I'm not hearing, you're not hearing that sound. It also means if I play another video, you're not going to hear this sound. And that's okay, because what I want this to do is play the Godzilla sound. So the question becomes then, whoops, I gotta change that button. How do we do that? And we're gonna record a video right now. Okay, I have a scenario here. I want to play sound effects during a stream, like Godzilla sounds, and with my default audio settings, in Open Broadcast Studio, if I were to do that right now, it would look something like this. I would press the button on my Stream Deck, and I can, increase it. Now, this is great. You see the VU meter lighting up for desktop audio, and if that's being picked up during a live stream as well as when I'm recording it. But let's get back to my main desktop. And in particular, we're going to jump over to the bottom right corner where the speaker icon is. When you left click on it, you get volume. When you right click on it, you get this menu. And usually I just click on sounds in order to get to this classic dialog, this classic window, so that I can access these. You can also get to this a more convoluted way. You can right click here, click open sound settings, and then either, manage the settings here, or click on sound control panel, which is basically what I did. I was able to skip a couple of steps. But anyway, now that we're here in the sound control panel, you'll notice my Corsair headphones are listed there. And I have them plugged into a USB dongle. So I have these headphones tied into a USB dongle that was included. I originally bought these just so I can play with surround sound without a surround sound system, just like I wanted to see if a $40 pair of headphones would give me, good or, discernible surround sound. However, they're going to serve a different purpose today. What we're going to do is we're going to use this for our sound effects. And so when we get to my desktop, we'll just minimize stuff here. We're going to click on my Stream Deck icon here. We'll put these side by side, front and center. And basically, on my main screen, I have a folder for sound effects, and I have two sound effects: Godzilla 1, Godzilla 2, Godzilla 3. And this one was set up a little differently. This was set up with a plugin which may support more functions, putting multiple sounds together, or, just other options that I don't currently need, like different file formats. But I tried it out anyway as a test in resolving the current issue. So anyway, my sounds are currently set up here: Godzilla 1 and 2. So the goal right now is to make it possible to play sound effects like Godzilla without having to use my main desktop audio, because I want to continue using my headphones on the front headphone jack of my PC. And in general, it works. I can play video games, I can listen to music, I can watch whatever movie and get sound on my headphones. But when you're live streaming, I can only use these sound effects during a one-person stream, because when I hit the sound button, you're going to see that my desktop audio VU meter lights up. And that's great and dandy, but when I'm on a stream, let's say someone is hosting a stream via StreamYard. StreamYard, at least the way I usually use it, is going to output the sound of everyone else into my headphones. So I speak to you, you respond to me verbally, I'm going to hear it on my headset, which means it is necessary for me to mute my desktop audio in OBS. And so now I can hear Godzilla, but the VU meter is muted now. So, you can see it move, but you cannot hear Godzilla. So how do we solve that? Well, I've racked my brain for a few different options. One option is to use a different output. And so keep using my main speaker. I would keep using my main speaker for, normal desktop audio. But when I'm talking to people on a stream, I would perhaps plug my headphones into my microphone, because the microphone does have an output on it. That's what's over here. These are the recording devices. That's my microphone. You can see it, blinking to life on the VU meter. But under playback devices, why is there a microphone? Well, a microphone does not emit sound through the coil itself. But like many other microphones, there is a headphone jack on the back of this one right here. And it is that headphone jack a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack that you can use as a output device. You could pretty much use it in place of a sound card altogether. If you did not have a sound card, but you had a USB device like this, I mean, this would be adequate for everything. I'm actually kind of curious about how the sound, hardware in a microphone stacks up against other sound hardware. It is able to do 24-bit at 48 kilohertz. A more advanced output device might be able to do 96 kilohertz. This one apparently can do 24-bit at 192 kilohertz. But once you get above 24-bit, 32-bit audio, for example, is overkill. So circling back, and I'm actually trying to record a video here, so let's see if we can do this again. The issue at hand is being able to play sound effects. Okay, I'm going to record this one more time before ending this stream. All right, so here's the scenario. I have some sound effects that I have. Alrighty, here's the issue. You have some sound effects. You can play them back on your Stream Deck, or maybe you have them mapped to a numeric keypad, because you can totally do that. You can set up a numeric keypad to, serve in the same capacity as a Stream Deck. It's not as fun because you don't have these nice little labels, but if you ultimately have a numeric keypad rigged in a way that you're comfortable, you could print out labels or decals and stick them right onto each button. The main advantage over this for me in using a Stream Deck is the ability to remap buttons, to have multiple pages or folders. And that's what we see on my screen here. When I hit a folder on the bottom here, the icons do change. And so we're going to go to our sound section right now. And have I been recording for 4 minutes? All right, from the top, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Alrighty, I have a scenario here. You want to play sound effects, and you can play them any which way. You can play them on your desktop audio during a stream, and if OBS is set up to hear sound from your desktop audio device, then when you play them back, people will hear it. You can adjust the volume if you need to, but bottom line is you can hear it and they can hear it. And typically you would be sharing your desktop audio if you were playing a game. If you were streaming a game, it would either be a default device or you might manually select it like this. And then in the OBS settings, it would, of course, during a stream, only use one audio track, but the way that OBS is configured, it can combine under advanced audio properties all devices on track 1. So that's what you see here. We have my microphone, my HDMI input or N64, and my desktop audio all together on track 1. And then track 2 is literally just my microphone. Track 3 is my HDMI input. Track 4 is my desktop audio. And so when I edit video, track 1 is a combined master track of all of the audio devices. And in the event that, I don't need versatility, I can totally just use that track on its own. A lot of times, however, I want to edit the volume of the different tracks independently. At times, I want to make the HDMI input louder. At other times, I want to make my microphone louder. So we can do that. But this precludes one issue, and I feel like I'm going to start the recording again. This is what happens when you record normally. Alrighty, I have a scenario here. You got some sound effects. We have sound effects like Godzilla screaming. And we want to play that during a live stream with multiple people. Now, normally when recording a solo video all alone right now, I can play this sound effect no problem because you're going to hear my desktop audio. Son of a bitch, it's the wrong input. Alrighty, I have a scenario here for you. You want to play sound effects during a live stream. Now, during a normal recorded video, this would not be a big deal because we can simply press the button. Son of a cunt. It's on the wrong fucking video device again. Alrighty, I have a scenario for you. Let's say you want to play sound effects during a live stream, like Godzilla screaming. Now, to do that, you would be sharing your desktop audio. And so if we go to OBS and we look at the VU meter, you'll see that desktop audio is over here. And then when I hit my button, we get Godzilla screaming. Now, although I'm using a Stream Deck, it doesn't really matter what you use to do this. You know, a Stream Deck is convenient because you have, you know, you have buttons that you can change the labels on and, you know, different pages. So, for example, we have folders on the bottom here, and I can hit sounds. I can hit a different set of buttons to control my computer. I have one set of buttons just to control everything on this monitor, so that I can show you my ultra widescreen monitor from different views. But getting back to sounds, it doesn't really matter if you're doing it over desktop audio, like I was doing just now when I hit the Godzilla button. Either one, except for the second one that doesn't work. You can hear it. Why does the second one not work when I press it? It looks like it's working. Well, if we double click on it, you'll see here that it's going to a different audio device. And I think this would actually get picked up on StreamYards the way I have it set up on a virtual sound device, but I'm not sure about it. I'm not comfortable with it. I'm not crazy about it. I'd like to hear the sound in some form or another, at least in the background of my desk somewhere, so that I know the sound is playing. And so this would not suffice, but I have another solution. I want to make this shorter. Alrighty, I have a scenario for you. Let's say you're streaming and you want to play sound effects like this. Godzilla screaming. If we go to my OBS monitor, you'll see here we have a VU meter for sound devices or sound effects. In particular, the top VU meter is my desktop audio. The second VU meter is obviously my microphone. Now, this is all fine and dandy on a solo stream. If I'm recording all alone or streaming, you know, solo with nobody else participating, this will work. But when you have multiple people talking to you on StreamYard, now, at least in my case, all of the voices of people speaking to me are coming out of my desktop audio. This is a problem because now I have to mute my desktop audio, thereby making it impossible to hear the Godzilla sound. I can still hear it, but you cannot. So how do we deal with that, you know? Well, we can basically tell StreamYards to output to a different sound device. And so, for example, if we go back to my main monitor, you go to the bottom right corner where the volume control is. Left clicking on it opens up the volume control. Right clicking on the little speaker icon will give you the menu here. I like to bypass the extra steps, click on sounds, and then go straight to playback or recording devices. You can also get to this very same menu by going the long way. Right click on the speaker, go to sound settings up top, and then click on sound control panel. But like I said, why take the extra mouse click when you can just do what I did? I mean, it's really the same amount of mouse clicks, but I digress. So you'll see here my main sound device is currently my speakers. And that's that. I can change it if I wanted to, but I don't. I can still manually tell StreamYards to use a different headset. Now for playing back audio, I got two options. I can tell, or I can just do it myself. Okay, we're re-recording this. Alrighty, I have a scenario here for you. Let's say you want to record sound effects, or you want to stream sound effects, which is really the challenge, such as Godzilla screaming. If we look at my OBS monitor, you'll see I have two VU meters showing up right here on this screen. The top one is desktop audio, the bottom one is my microphone. When I play sound effects, you get that sound. But when you're in a multi-person stream speaking to other people, at least for me, I normally have the voices of other participants coming out of my desktop audio. And so I have to mute this particular track, or else you would get constant echoing and feedback. And so I cannot play sound effects. Whoops. You motherfucking whore. Alrighty. Alrighty, I have a scenario for you. Let's say you want to play sound effects during a live stream, like Godzilla screaming. How do you record, or how do you make that sound effect work on a stream when there are multiple participants? What I mean is, when I'm recording a solo stream or recording a video, the desktop audio is available. So if I'm playing a video game or commenting on a video or something, you can hear the desktop audio. And obviously the microphone VU meter also lights up. But when there are multiple people participating in a stream, I have to mute this particular audio track. And so now I can hear my sound effects, but you can't hear them. So how do we solve that issue? How do we make it so that I can go into a multi-person stream, you know, a stream where there are multiple participants, and still be able to use sound effects without the feedback issue? Well, by default, OBS is using my speakers and headphones as my desktop audio device, and generally I would want to do that. But when I'm streaming, I could do something a little different. If we go back to my main screen, we go to the volume icon down here, we left click on it to get the volume, we right click on it in order to get the sound settings, and you can get to it two different ways. Most people might go to sound settings, then click on sound control panel. There is a shortcut to this menu where you can simply right click over here and click on the word sounds, and it'll bring you to the same thing. You just have to navigate to the correct tab. So anyway, if you have an internal sound card or a USB DAC or a surround sound USB dongle, which is effectively an external sound card, it'll be listed here. And even my microphone is listed as an output device, even though, you know, it's used as a microphone. Obviously, the VU meter is lighting up over here. But why is my microphone shown here? Well, because it has a headphone jack. There's a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack on the back of this microphone. And you could use it for different things, but one possibility is using it in the capacity of a normal sound card. Like, you can literally use it for everything, hypothetically. Or when I'm using StreamYards, I can maybe tell StreamYard, output all of the StreamYard audio to this device. And then, you know, of course, I would still have my microphone as my, you know, main device, as my main recording device. But playing sound effects through OBS would be a little trickier. Now, if I'm using the virtual audio device that I've been using, you'll notice this lights up whenever I speak. And that's because I have it set up where sound from my microphone comes out of this virtual audio device. And I do that basically so that I can use filters in OBS while participating in StreamYard and potentially other streaming platforms. But for sound effects, 3 minutes in, we still don't have it. Alrighty. I have a scenario for you. Let's say you want to play sound effects during a live stream. Alrighty, I have a scenario for you. Let's say you want to play sound effects during a live stream, such as Godzilla screaming. To do that, I can do a number of things. I can play back a media file in a media player, like Windows Media Player, VLC Media Player. You know, you can just play it back because by default, or at least in my current setup, OBS is listening on my desktop audio. And that works when you're doing a solo stream or when you're recording a video. But if we go to my main monitor, we go down here to the bottom right corner to the sound icon. Left clicking on it gives us the volume slider. Right clicking on it gives you a menu. If you go to sound settings and then click on sound control panel, you'll go here. You can also bypass that extra step by simply right clicking and going straight to sounds. And then once you're in the sounds menu, you can switch to the playback or recording tabs. So as it's set up right now, that's my main audio device. It's my default. I right-clicked on it, I said make it my default device and default communication device. If I join a stream on StreamYard, I can say use my default device, or I can manually select this device. But there are alternatives. When I join a stream on StreamYard, I can tell StreamYard, use this one as my output device. Now, why does my microphone have headphones? Well, there's a headphone jack on the back of the microphone. So although it is a input device, as you can see here, it also can be used in place of a sound card for all intents and purposes. And so what we could do is we can tell OBS to keep listening to sound effects on this sound device, but whenever I talk to multiple people on a stream, the sound would come out here. And that would work fine if I was currently using speakers. And I may bring speakers back into the mix, just haven't had like a need. It's not a priority at the moment to have speakers on my desk, but might do it soon. I do have a spare set of Bose speakers laying around that, that would probably be really nice. So anyway, if I had it set up like that, my speakers would be hooked up onto my main sound card. My Godzilla sounds would also be coming out of that output. So of course I might have to lower the speakers during a stream, but people will be able to hear what's coming out of those, speakers more prominently via the back end. Okay, so that works, but a little complex, isn't it? Alrighty, I have a scenario for you. Let's say you want to play sound effects during a live stream, such as Godzilla screaming. Now, the way it's set up right now, if I go to my sound effects, you'll see the VU meter down here lighting up. And I can control the volume of that. And then my microphone is one of my other audio tracks. Now, this is all great and dandy, except when you're on StreamYard. When you're on StreamYard with multiple participants, then you may have to mute your desktop audio. In my case, I mute my desktop audio because that's what I'm using to listen to other participants in a live stream. And so my main recourse during a live stream of that type with multiple participants is to mute. And if I mute the desktop audio now, although I can hear it, you cannot hear it. And so I can't use my soundboard. And so what are some solutions? Well, we're not limited to this as our only output device. I mean, like during a multi-person stream, one solution to that I have at my disposal is to use a different output for the stream. And we can do that. I mean, if we go to my main screen, the volume button, we left click on it, we get a control slider, we right click on it, we can go to sound settings, or we can go straight to the sound control panel here. But for most people, if you go to sound settings, you have to left click here to get to the sound control panel. I mean, you could operate in this, UI, but I'd say you're going to get better control by going into the proper sound control panel. And so over here right now, you can see my speakers and my headphones are plugged into my, headphone jack on my tower are my default audio devices, whereas everything else can be set as a default, but we don't do that. You'll also see my microphone name here listed as headphones, because although it is a microphone and it's coming to life under the recording device's VU meter, it has a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack on the back of the unit. And you can use this for a lot of things. You can use it to self-monitor your microphone as you're speaking into it, which I never understood why people do that. Maybe it's a recording industry thing. I don't know. But you can also use it as a sound card. Essentially, it's like, if you didn't have any of the sound devices on your computer, this could be used in the same capacity as a sound card. You can use it for all of your audio outputs if you wanted to. But in particular, what you might do is join a stream on StreamYard and tell StreamYard output the, audio through here. And of course, that means you now have to plug your headphones into your microphone. But if you continue to play sound effects on your main speakers, it's not going to impact, you're not going to have to worry about, muting the desktop audio, because you're not going to get that reverb anymore. You're not going to have echoing happening because of that. But until I plug speakers in, what's another alternative to this? Because if I unplug my headphones from the front of my tower right now, Windows is going to think that there's nothing plugged in my sound card and essentially treat it as non-existent. And so, we're back at square one basically. Well, if I had speakers, then yeah, I could tell StreamYard to use my headphone jack as my output device. But alternatively, I plugged in a set of headphones, and if that's what you're seeing up here, I don't even use these. I bought them just to see how it would sound, surround sound in particular, what it would be like to get simulated surround sound in a Star Wars movie, for example. They were on sale, Cyber Monday special for like $40 like a year or two ago. And I barely use them. I mean, they get pretty good sound. I just don't have a need for a headset at this time. But because I have the USB dongle plugged in, because these come with a USB dongle to support surround sound, they are listed as a sound device. And so if we go to my Elgato stream thing here, son of a bitch, I was on the wrong screen. Alrighty, I have a scenario for you. Let's say you want to play sound effects such as Godzilla screaming during a live stream. Now, normally during a solo stream or when I'm recording, it's not a problem. It comes out here under my desktop audio. But when I'm jumping to a stream on StreamYard with my current setup, if it's a stream with multiple participants, the sound of the other participants is going to come out of my headphone jack. And so I have to mute this during a multi-person stream, thereby making it impossible for you to hear my sound effects during such a stream. What are some solutions to this? Well, one solution is to plug speakers into my computer and then have my headphones plugged into my microphone anytime I'm streaming, at least, because then I can tell StreamYard to output the audio through the 3.5 millimeter jack, because that's, in Windows, under the sound control panel, the sound devices are all listed here. And if we look up, you can see that it says Samson G-Track Pro. That's my microphone. So this is actually the headphone jack. The 3.5 millimeter headphone jack that is built into my headphones is listed right here as a playback device. Whereas the VU meter continues to light up because, of course, my microphone is a recording device and primarily is such. Meanwhile, I have this plugged in over here. And this is a pair of USB headphones. These headphones came with a USB dongle in order to support simulated surround sound. And I bought them specifically to play games with surround sound, see if I can discern any difference when using virtual surround sound, and for watching Star Wars movies with surround sound. That was the main reason I bought these headphones, but they have another use today. And so what I was thinking of doing was I could either plug in a set of speakers. During a live stream, I would lower them, but I could still play sound effects, and I would be able to hear the sound effects on my speakers. And of course, people during the live stream would be able to hear the sound effects much more loudly, depending on how I set it up. Now, you can see I'm using a Stream Deck here. And so if I hit one of these buttons here, you hear nothing now unless I unmute the sound. And if I hit the second button here, nothing happens. Why does nothing happen when I hit this button? Well, because it's using a different playback device. So when you set up your sound effects in the Stream Deck application, you could tell it to use your default sound device, or surprisingly, it's not listing my main sound card here, probably because it already knows it's my default device. So that's fine. But you'll notice I have other devices here. I have my headset earphones. The USB dongle from Corsair is right here. And so I could tell it to output. Right now I have it set to go to my virtual audio device. This might work on StreamYard, but I don't trust it. And I just don't like it because I can't hear it. When I play a sound effect, I can't monitor the sound effect. So I have no idea what other people are actually hearing. So that's the downside to using the virtual audio cable. And so the alternative here is to use a different sound device. And, in this case, I'm using the USB dongle because I can still hear it coming out of the headphones if I listen. Yeah, I can hear it. It's very low. I can goose up the volume on the manual control volume knob. Yeah, I can hear it just enough. And, I don't want to blow out the cups on the headphones, but I just need to hear some hint of the sound effect when I play it back. So now how does that help you hear me during a multi-person live stream? Well, if we go back to my main or my OBS monitor, when I play the sound effect, I can hear it on my headphones up there. I have them hanging up on a pole, but you can't hear them like you normally would. Well, because during a live stream with multiple participants, it's not a game stream, I don't need people to hear my desktop audio throughout the stream, so I can continue to tell StreamYard to send the participant audio to my main headphone jack. But if I go to properties over here, I could tell OBS to use my Corsair USB headphones instead. And when I do that, now you can hear the sound. I can't hear it on my main headphones, but I hear the sound coming out of those headphones. And meanwhile, OBS is picking it up too, and I can control the volume over here, make them louder if I want. You can also most certainly control the volume in Stream Deck. And if you don't have a Stream Deck, don't get perturbed, because you don't need one to do this. I mean, realistically, yeah, sure, it's convenient to have buttons that light up that you can reassign, and you have multiple pages of buttons like you see over here. I can cycle through different folders containing different stuff. I have one entire page dedicated to my monitor because it's an ultra widescreen monitor, so sometimes I have to zoom in on the center. Other times I want to show you the left side so that you can see the start menu, or the right side so you can see the stuff that I'm currently blocking. Just to give you some examples here. So although the Stream Deck is really cool and versatile, you don't need it. Whoops. You don't need it because you can totally tell OBS to use. So anyway, although the Stream Deck is very versatile and convenient with the reassignable display buttons, you don't need it. Before getting a Stream Deck, I was using this, and it worked pretty well because there's two ways you can use a numeric keypad. The easy way is to just go into the OBS settings and map the buttons on this numeric keypad to various functions under the hotkeys, menu. But there is a caveat. If, let's say, I'm in a chat room, or I have my text cursor somewhere where you could write, and I hit number 0 to mute my audio, it's going to type a number 0. And I used to have like numbers 1 through 7 set up to switch between different video sources. And so most applications will more or less ignore the input. But if you're in an application that lets you type, then it is going to type whatever button you press. So even though pressing number 5 switches to my webcam, and number 6 switches to my desktop cam, for example, it's also going to type the numbers 5 and 6 if I'm in a chat room or something like that. And so, okay, once in a while I have to backspace it or highlight the text and erase it before sending a message. But for like $15, this was not a bad, deal to get a basic numeric keypad. You could probably get them for cheaper than what I paid for this too. But I wanted a mechanical one. It's not that good. It's actually kind of weird to operate. Sometimes it's working well right now, but the other day I was having like real trouble with the number 0 or something. It would just keep getting stuck. Yeah, now it's working great, but I'm telling you, the other day something happened to the mechanism and this key was just acting all wonky. So that being besides the point, you can totally map a numeric keypad. That's the simple way to do it. Alrighty, I have a quick scenario for you. Let's say you got some sound effects you want to play, like Godzilla screaming. Okay, this is going to be the last take. We're going to make this work. Alrighty, I have a scenario for you. Let's say you want to play some sound effects like Godzilla screaming. Now, when you're recording or doing a solo stream, that's really trivial because if we go here, I'm sharing my desktop audio, whether I'm playing a game or doing a stream on any other thing. Sound effects will come out of my desktop audio. I can hear it and you can hear it because the VU meter lights up. We can control the volume of it. So that's good. But in a stream with multiple participants, like if you jump into a StreamYard stream with other participants in there, the way I have it set up, the sound of other people speaking to me is going to come out of my desktop audio. And so I have to mute my desktop audio, or else you'll get, feedback, echo, all of those problems associated therein. Now, there are a couple of options here. Now, before we go any further, I want to underscore, you do not need a Stream Deck to do sound effects. I mean, all of the sound effects can be played on your desktop audio through Windows Media Player or VLC Media Player. And in fact, if you don't have a Stream Deck, using VLC Media Player might be preferable. You could put like an entire playlist together with different sound effects. And as long as the playlist isn't set up to play the next track automatically, I don't know if that's an option, but if you could set it up that way, you could just use the playlist as a speed dial to like play sound effects, or just keep them in a folder. You got different options, but you definitely do not need a Stream Deck, although it is convenient. And secondly, you can map OBS hotkeys. So if you were to put your sound effects straight into Open Broadcast Studio, because you could drag and drop sound effects into OBS, you could hypothetically use the hotkey settings to set that up. Now, I currently don't think I have any hotkeys anymore, but I used to have this set up where I would press the button on my numeric keypad. For example, pressing number 0 on my numeric keypad would mute. Now I can do that by pressing the button in the middle of my Stream Deck, and you can even see, like, if we go to my main monitor, how the center button lights up when it's muted or not muted. And so now we know that much, but we want to figure out, how do we play sound effects during a StreamYard stream where there are multiple participants? Well, that is where we get to this part over here. And I just want to say what's up to Alan Copeland, who has just jumped into the chat. I'm currently using this live stream to test something, but also to record a video before I end the stream. And so the subject at hand is playing sound effects during a live stream. Now, as I already said, you can play the sound effects in Windows Media Player. They get picked up on your desktop audio, and OBS will play it back, just like that. But when I'm in a multi-participant stream, I'm muting the audio here, so now you can't hear anything on my sound card. But there are two options. One option is to use the headphone jack on my microphone during the stream, because when you go into a StreamYard stream, when you're joining a studio or a room, you can tell StreamYards to output the audio from the other participants to a different audio device, such as the headphone jack on your microphone. But if I do that, then I can't hear my sound effects or desktop audio. Well, of course, I can solve that by plugging speakers in. Plug the speakers into my main sound card, lower the volume a little bit so I don't get reverb or echo, and that would definitely work. But I don't want to plug speakers in right now. I got a lot of wiring here. I want to redo the cable management before I do that. So the alternative is going to the sound control panel. We can go there by right-clicking on the sound icon, where you have the volume control. And normally, you would be able to left-click on the speaker icon and hear a test sound. And in this case, we want to right-click on it and either go to sound settings or sounds. If we go to sound settings, we have to take one extra step and click on sound control panel. So we right-click on the speaker icon, we click on sound settings, and then we go to sound control panel. There's probably a shortcut you could type into the run box here, like sound.cpl, although I don't know what it is off the top of my head. You can also just type the word sound control panel into your start menu, and you'll get nothing. Yeah, Windows is hilarious like that. So anyway, getting back on topic, bottom line is I went to sound control panel by right-clicking on the speaker icon down here. If you click on sounds, you'll just have to navigate from the sounds tab to playback and recording. And up here, you'll see my main headphones, my main speakers are my default audio device. I can change my default audio device, but in this case, I'm using my front headphone jack. if I unplug my headphones, this will get disabled. And so I will end up having to use a different sound device in OBS, which puts me back at square one. So bottom line, how do I solve this today without plugging additional speakers into my computer and without using the headphone jack on my microphone? Well, you'll notice over here, I have this pair of headphones here. It's playing sounds, but you're not hearing them because it's actually a USB audio dongle. I have these Corsair headphones I bought for Cyber Monday in order to, just experience surround sound, virtual surround sound in gaming, and to see if it was a decent technology, if it was worth, buying a better virtual surround sound set. I didn't want to spend a lot. So I bought them on, sale. They were pretty good headphones, but I didn't need the microphone. They're definitely a good backup if, let's say, I ever needed a backup set of microphones and headphones. But in this situation, the USB dongle that they are plugged into is like an external sound card. For all intents and purposes, it's a separate sound card, as is the headphone jack on my microphone. And so I can go here to my Stream Deck settings, and you could do this, like I said, you could play the sound effects any other way. VLC Media Player will let you do this internally. So over here, you'll see that on my first button here, it's set to output to my default sound device. So what that means is when I press this button, the sound is going to come out over here. And OBS is currently set up to listen on that device. And so when I press the button, the sound is going to come out over here and it's going to be heard over here. But one way to deal with that, an alternative way to deal with this, is to go here. We'll zoom in a little bit and take a look at the difference. This says output to default. This says output to the headset. So I'm actually telling this button here to play the sound effects on the Corsair headphones. And so when I press the button, you can see the VU meter lighting up over there on the top instead of the bottom. And so generally I wouldn't be able to hear it, but I can hear it from the headphones. I have the headphones hanging up above my monitor, and when I press the button, I could hear Godzilla's scream. So I know the sound effect that I selected is working, and all because I hit this button. And so how does that work in OBS? Well, in OBS, if we go to my VU meter, we can right click on the main desktop audio, go to properties, and instead of telling it to output to my main speakers or headphone jack, I'm going to tell it to listen to, I should say, not output, listen to. It's going to listen to my audio output coming out of my USB sound adapter. And so now, when I press the first button, you're not going to hear it. I hear it, but you don't hear it. But if I press the second button, I can hear it faintly coming out of my headphones up there. Meanwhile, you're able to hear it come out, and OBS is able to hear it on the VU meter here. And so that is how I'm going to cope in the future. When I'm joining a multi-participant stream, one method I will use in order to cope is I will continue to tell StreamYard to play the sound on my headphones from, other participants. But OBS will be relaying sound from my different USB dongle. And this doesn't solve everything, because I'm realizing now I have OBS configured in a way to play my microphone with filters on StreamYard through a virtual audio device. But that probably doesn't translate to desktop audio. And so bottom line is I would have to, yeah, I don't think this solves my issue. It's a bummer. It partially solves my issue, but while I'm here, I want to say what's up to Brandon Looney Tunes Fan 2000. He has recently unlocked the achievement of 1,000 subscribers, and for that, I congratulate you, good sir. And I saw you did some new video updates recently. I saw you even, did a video where you were, presenting something. It's really cool, So I definitely want to, give you kudos, Brandon, for, just continuing to grow, both growing in terms of sub count and in general. I think we all grow. We grow together, as, PJ from Orville Nation says. We grow together, and, I think we grow in multiple ways. Me personally, I'm not comfortable speaking on microphones. I'm not comfortable hearing my own voice on a microphone. But the more I do it, I get better at it. I feel I get better at it, and I'm more comfortable. And so, yeah, we're all growing. And at 1,016 subscribers, you're continuing to raise it. And I think by having more subs, that will help, feed into it. That will help, you know, like positive feedback. More subs means more people watching, more people commenting, or more people who know other people to get other people to subscribe. So, keep it up, keep growing, keep learning, keep doing, better streams. I think, you continually improve. We all do, but I see, you doing different things, you're trying out different things. I think it's great. So I definitely, I always, want to encourage people who are trying new stuff and continuing to push the envelope. And to that, I say Godspeed. As for me, holy crap, I recorded a 10-minute video multiple times. And this stream is actually a test stream. So when I end it, I'm going to start a new stream with the same name, because I'm trying to figure out what happens when you live stream and you don't change the settings. Does it overwrite the old stream? Does it continue? I'm very confused about this aspect of, streaming. I muted my sound. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know how long my sound was muted. I don't know how long. I just realized it was muted. So I don't know if I got to go back and see if you guys even heard anything I said. Like, I just said a bunch of great stuff about Brandon, and I want to make sure you guys can hear it. Now, what's really cool is I can hear my desktop audio now, and you can't, because I changed the default device in OBS. So OBS doesn't hear my desktop audio. But now we're going to go back here. I want to see if... Oh, good. Okay, good. I only muted the sound recently. That's good. Okay. Okay, good. I didn't lose any sound. Okay, good. So getting back to here. So I want to do an experiment right here, because in the Stream Deck settings, I originally had it set up to play the sound output on my virtual audio cable. So now if I hit the button, it might work. So right now, you can't hear it. But apparently StreamYards can hear it. And so this means every time I speak, this lights up, because StreamYard is picking up my virtual audio device with filters. And if I mute the audio in OBS, it won't be able to hear me. Testing 1, 2. See, it's muted, but we're going to do another test. I'm going to mute my audio, and I'm going to play a sound effect. Okay, so now I want to do the same thing, but I want to record it on the StreamYard end. So, like I said, we're using my virtual camera. Shouldn't matter. I don't remember paying for a StreamYard, but apparently they're giving us 1080p right now, so that's interesting. I got to find out if that's new. We can adjust the volume manually or automatically, depending on how well people can hear us. Am I paying for StreamYards? I honestly don't remember anymore. Okay, so let's enter my own studio. And then obviously we're on my ultra wide monitor, so I have to do that. I can join my own stream. Okay, sound check, testing 1 2. Okay, we got sound over there. Now we're gonna mute my audio and we're gonna play a sound effect on 1. Okay, I just played the same Godzilla sound effect like 3 times. So now we're gonna leave the studio and play back the recording. But just a side note, if I wanted to avoid reverb, if I was in a multi-participant live stream and I wanted to play a sound effect without it coming out of my desktop audio, because essentially if I set this to play desktop audio, I can hear the sound effect, you can hear the same sound effect, but then if I'm talking to other people on StreamYard and I have this sound device as my primary, which I usually do, it means that anything that comes out of my speakers, people can hear, but also the people who are speaking to me will get picked up by OBS, and OBS might cause some reverb. I'm actually not sure. We're gonna find out right now. So anyway, I'm gonna go back to using the virtual audio device for a minute. And we already recorded it, so I'm still recording right now. So let's jump back. I'll play the sound effect for myself one more time. Okay, 1. Okay, now I'm gonna end it, and I'm gonna oh crud. I think I was supposed to click record to do that. So I have to do it one more time. So same concept. We saw the VU meter. Okay, I'm gonna click record. Recording has been initiated. All right, sound check 1 2. Microphone is online. We're now gonna mute microphone and play sound effects. Okay, now that we've done that, I'm going to end the recording. I guess it went fine. I don't know. I love how they ask these questions like, oh, how did it go? I'm like, oh, I have no idea. Okay, so this looks like the recording we just did. Bummer, it's still processing. All right, hopefully that doesn't take long. I can hear it. I can hear it. Okay, cool. So we have another solution here. So I think I'm going to record my video one more time before I end this stream. Okay, begin new video now. Alrighty, I have a scenario for you. Let's say you're streaming or recording and you want to play a sound effect that you did not just hear because it wasn't coming out of my right sound device. So normally it would come out of my main sound device like this. And we know that because we can see the VU meter coming to life right here. That is my desktop audio. Now, if I'm playing a video game, that's good. You can hear the sound from the game. I can, share the game, and I can pause this for a second. If anybody's still watching, I could definitely use advice on streaming better. But we're gonna try this again. I'm gonna re-record. Not streaming. Streaming I do fine. Recording is the tricky part. So from the top. Alrighty. I have a scenario. Recording now. Alrighty. I have a scenario for you. Let's say you want to play sound effects like Godzilla screaming. How do you play such a sound effect during a multi-person stream? What I mean is when you're recording solo, like I'm doing right here, I can capture my desktop audio with no issue. But maybe I'm not playing a game. Like, you know, when you're playing a game or reacting to a video, desktop audio makes sense because, you know, you can hear it on your headphones or your speakers and other people can hear it too and you can control it over here. Great. But when I jump into a multi-participant stream on StreamYard, for instance, let's see, we're going to open up a new tab here. Okay, we have StreamYard right over here. If I create a new stream, let's say we call it Test Rec 2. Okay, so basically it's going to load it up, give it a minute. So when you join any stream with other participants, whether you're alone or joining a stream with multiple participants, you'll see this VU meter coming to life. Now, in my case, I kind of did a little convoluted setup where I'm using a virtual audio cable right here. And all you need to know about my virtual audio cable at this time is that it allows me to run my audio from my microphone into OBS, apply some filters to my own, you know, audio within OBS, and then it's able to relay. So basically the virtual audio cable is designed to make it possible for me to use these filters in StreamYard. Without the virtual audio cable, I would not be able to use these filters. Joining a stream in StreamYard would mean taking straight audio from this microphone. And that's why I sounded like I had a vacuum cleaner running in the background a while back when I jumped into I think it was a members stream on the Nerdporeal Lifeforms channel. Well, I jumped into this open stream, had a great time, but I had a constant vacuum cleaner noise from my server rack in the background because I was not prepared to set up my audio filters like I have over here. I mean, like, you know, I have them on this computer, but whenever I go to my other computer, the audio filters are configured a little differently, and I found out the hard way on that particular day that I did not have my filters running through OBS. So anyway, still gotta, you know, I gotta start this over. Too much blah, 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 man. I hope nobody's sitting here watching this. Alrighty, I have a scenario for you. Let's say you want to play sound effects in a live stream, such as Godzilla screaming. But the problem is, it's one thing if you're recording or streaming solo, then, you know, you got my microphone here, you have the desktop audio here. If I'm playing a video game or playing sound effects, it'll come out over here, which is great. But when I jump into a room on StreamYard, initially I'll see this. Now, in this case, it's not getting audio from my microphone, but most people, it will listen to their microphone. The only thing that's different here is that I'm using a virtual audio cable. And so basically when I speak, normally in OBS, you can use a virtual camera. That's why StreamYard sees whatever OBS sees. And this is made possible because in OBS, we click on this button here, Start Virtual Camera. And so now if I click Start Virtual Camera, StreamYard will see whatever OBS wants it to see, which is fantastically convenient, you know? But there's a huge caveat involving desktop audio. And so how do we get desktop audio in a stream? Well, in this particular mode, it's not going to work because, like, even though I can hear it and OBS can hear it when I'm recording, StreamYard cannot hear that sound. Worse off, even if I found a way to make StreamYard hear my desktop audio, if I'm in a stream with multiple participants, I still have to mute my desktop audio or else you're going to get echoes and feedback and all of that annoying crap. But either way, that part doesn't matter because we still can't hear the sound in StreamYard. So I did two things, and one of them actually relates to this, even though it didn't initially make sense to me. as I said earlier, I'm using a virtual audio cable, VB audio virtual cable. You could Google it, in order to allow me to use my filters. So if we go to OBS, we click on filters. These are the compressor and expander. They help me to manage background noise. The noise of the fans in my computer are excluded because of this filter. And the only thing I would do differently is maybe increase the release to like 100 milliseconds, because it was a little abrupt last time I did a stream. Anyway, so we have that. But how do we make OBS hear my sound effects? Well, I have two solutions for that. Gotta do this quicker. Alrighty, I have a scenario. You want to play sound effects like Godzilla screaming, but you want people to hear them on StreamYard or on a multi-participant stream especially. Now, on a solo stream, when you're recording all alone, these VU meters come to life. My microphone is here, my desktop audio is here. If I'm playing a video game, I want you to hear it. But if I join a stream with multiple participants, I have to mute this. So my sound effects are going to fall on deaf ears. It's not going to get picked up by OBS or the recording. On the other hand, even if I'm using StreamYard alone, this might be an issue, because StreamYard is not picking up the desktop audio from that. It's not picking it up. It's a minor miracle I can get StreamYard to pick up my microphone with filters, and I had to do some extra effort basically to be able to get these filters, because even though, look, StreamYard has a virtual webcam, you can see it right here. Like when we go to camera, it says select camera. I can select my webcams, or I can select OBS virtual camera. And what basically happens with the virtual camera is, if we click start virtual camera or stop virtual camera. So right now I stopped it. You see nothing. When I click start virtual camera, now you're going to see whatever OBS sees, which is super convenient. I mean, I can, jump onto other people's streams, share my desktop, or share my literal desktop, as you can see I'm literally doing here. But if I want to share my desktop audio, that's a bit of a challenge. And so, we go here to audio devices. Now, I'm using a virtual audio cable. That's not super important normally, but this might help people. And so the way this works is you download and install this application. And when everything is said and done, it's very confusing. But when you go to your sound control panel or playback devices control panel, you're going to see an extra audio device listed here, VB virtual audio cable, and a separate recording device. And essentially what it does is any sound that is coming out of OBS will, come from my microphone, go into OBS, get filtered, and it will come out over here. When I mute the audio in OBS, VU meters go dead. You look, I'm going to mute the audio in 1 second, and you're going to see the VU meter at the top is going to still run because my microphone is still monitoring, but the bottom VU meter is going to go dead. And so basically bottom line is that this will, react to however I control the sound in OBS, as long as it's coming out of my microphone in particular. So it's listening to this sound device exclusively, and it's including the filter. So whatever filters I apply, right now I'm just using filters to deal with background noise, to reduce the background noise from my fans. This will allow me to do that. And this is important because I remember a while ago, I jumped into a stream from my other computer. My other computer is in the same room as my server rack, and it has these vortex tornado fans, whatever you want to call them, these very loud fans inside of the server rack. And it was being picked up. It sounded like I had a vacuum cleaner in the background. And that was because I didn't know prior to that stream that I lost my configuration because I had to reinstall OBS. And I couldn't figure out how to set this up again. But bottom line is that stream normally I would not have had the issue with the background sound if I was using this configuration right here. And so you can see it basically takes the microphone, it goes into OBS. Then OBS sends the filtered audio out to this virtual audio device. How does it work? I don't freaking remember. I literally don't remember how it works. Um, I think it has something to do with this, maybe. Yeah, you know, like I said, I couldn't remember it. Bottom line, it's way too complex. I don't even know how the virtual audio cable works. How about that? Like, I'm sure there's a perfectly good explanation as to why my virtual audio cable works, but it beats the... Oh, I remember something now. It has something to do with this setting right here. So hypothetically, if I tell it to turn that setting off, I think we can disable the virtual audio cable temporarily. So testing 1, 2. Testing 1, 2. Okay, so that works. I don't know why it works, but it works. Alrighty, I have a scenario for you. You want to play sound effects like these during a live stream. Now, if you're recording or doing a solo stream, that can work because you can just, you know, hit the button, and as long as your desktop audio is available, people can hear it. When I join a stream with multiple participants, I tend to run the audio through my desktop, so I have to mute desktop audio, so that's not an option. But there is a possible solution that occurred to me. Now, before using any complex solution, I would point out one simple solution is when you join a room on StreamYard. So normally when you jump into a room in StreamYard, you'll get your microphone test here. The webcam is here, but we're going to go back to my desktop. And in fact, I'm using OBS virtual webcam. So when I hit this button, OBS sees this. When I hit this button or this button, basically whatever I do, whatever you just saw is coming up in this little screen right over here. And that's because I'm using the OBS virtual webcam. If I hit stop camera, you're going to see that. And if we hit start camera, when I click on this button here, it comes to life. So that's what we're looking at right there. And that is selected because when you go to camera, it says OBS virtual camera. But the problem is this doesn't work for audio. By default, OBS will still listen to your microphone directly. That's how it normally works. That's why when I joined one of the live streams on the Nerdporeal Lifeforms YouTube channel a couple of months ago, I think it was, it sounded like there was a vacuum cleaner in the background because I was in the same room as my server rack. And because I had forgotten that I had recently reinstalled OBS, it lost my configuration. And thus, I was no longer getting audio filters. But on this computer, we have a expander and compressor filter running. And that basically helps to deal with the background noise being generated by the fans in my computer. And even some minor background noise from clicking on things. And essentially what it does is it mutes this when I stop talking. And then when the sound exceeds 30-something decibels, it'll allow you to hear the sound. And I want to give a quick shout out to Floral from Under a Rock. Floral from Under a Rock runs a fantastic YouTube channel with really funny comedic puppets. It is PG-13 rated, so it is generally family friendly. But of course, the man does carry some Christian values. And so some people might say that is, I don't even know what people would say about that. Frankly, I think it's perfectly fine. But you know how it is this day, all of the ists and isms out there. But I digress. Getting back on topic here. What was I saying? So yeah, OBS is, basically running audio filters on my microphone so that it can limit the sound. And so if I remember correctly, I recently raised this setting because if I move this slider down from 24 dB, watch what happens to the VU meter below. Nothing. Okay, I think it's the expander. Let's adjust the expander. We're going to lower the expander a lot. Now, you can hear my background sound because essentially the way the expander works, I always mix up these two filters, but the expander will not allow OBS to listen to my microphone or it will not allow OBS to present the audio from my microphone unless it exceeds negative 24 dB. So negative 24 is right over here. And so if I whisper just a little bit and the filter wasn't running, my whispering would be just loud enough to hit this cutoff. Now, once the whispers exceed this cutoff, this combination of filters will also make it louder while at the same time preventing us from hitting the red zone. So I don't remember which one does what, but if we turn them both off, if I talk loud enough, we go into the red zone. If I turn them on and I talk loud enough, I'm not going to scream, but it won't go into the red zone as easily by using this combination of filters. But at the same time, we're not hearing the sound from my fans. We're not hearing the fans anymore. But if I lower it, now you might be able to hear it if you put your headphones up. If I click on anything, now the keyboard still makes some sound, but if I type quietly enough, I'm able to keep it below the threshold. And so what I did was the other day I had it like over here, the setting. And I keep mixing these filters up, but I had this setting down by 32. But lately, I'm trying to remember which one I did, but one of these was on a setting that allowed background noise to come in. And it was probably this one, but I don't remember how low I had it. I just remember it was picking up a lot of background noise. Now it seems to be working fine at the normal setting. Maybe my fan was running louder. I don't know. Testing 1, 2. It's also possible I had something else going on. So anyway, getting back on topic here. As long as people can hear me. Man, I'm going to have to edit this now. That sucks. Okay, so we're going to keep this recording going. So bottom line is, OBS is listening to a virtual audio device because otherwise I would not be able to apply my filters. If I have to talk directly to my microphone and if StreamYard cannot pick up my filters, people are going to hear background noise, especially when I'm near my server rack. So I downloaded a thing called Virtual Audio Cable. And basically the VB cable virtual audio device adds a virtual sound device. So if we go to Windows Sound Settings, which we can do that multiple ways, we can right click on the speaker icon and click on the word sounds. That'll bring us straight to the sound control panel. And then we got to go to recording or playback devices. And what this does, basically, it takes the filtered audio from OBS. So my microphone sends clean audio to OBS. OBS then provides the audio to this output. And then this virtual microphone then relays the audio to this actual output or virtual playback, the playback device. And so what I do is I tell StreamYard, listen to that. It literally says, listen to VB virtual audio cable. And that's what it's doing. Okay, good. Nobody's watching. I can start the recording over again. Okay, I'm going to do one more recording. One more. Alrighty, I have a scenario for you. Let's say you're doing a live stream and you want to play sound effects like Godzilla screaming. Now, if you're playing it on your desktop audio, that would normally be fine because, OBS during a video game or something is going to be, running on my desktop audio. It's going to be listening to my desktop audio. But in a stream of multiple participants, I'm usually going to mute my desktop audio so that we don't get feedback or reverb. But there's another issue here. Now, when you first join a room on StreamYard, you'll see something like this. Now, you're seeing my desktop because I'm using the OBS virtual camera. And when I click this button, stop and start virtual camera, that is what's triggering what you're seeing on this end here. But it is not picking up audio from OBS. And so a while back, a couple months ago, maybe some weeks ago, I joined a live stream with the Nerdporeal Lifeform, and I was in the same room as my server rack. And as a result, the sound of the fans in my server, basically, it sounded like there was a vacuum cleaner operating in the background whenever I spoke. And the reason for that was because it was not using my filters. You know, I have filters when I record in OBS from either computer. I have two filters, expander and compressor. And one of these filters will deal with the background noise by lowering this VU meter until it hears enough sound. So right here, it can hear my fan. But if I put the setting back to negative 24 dB, what that says is basically the sound that's coming out has to be negative 24 or higher before it'll boost it. So if the sound level is lower, let's say it's like negative 40. Testing 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1. Excuse me. 1 2 1 2 1 2. So I'm talking very low to illustrate that if the sound level is, say, negative 30 or negative 40 dB, the expander will not expand it. It will not boost that audio. But once a sound exceeds that number, in this case I have it a little bit higher at negative 24 dB, once the sound it hears exceeds this, or whatever setting is here, then it'll increase it at a 3-to-1 ratio. And then it'll release this at 49 milliseconds, which is a little weird how that works. But essentially, sometimes like certain filters, when they cut off too quickly, it can be a little abrupt. And it'll sound like sound is fading in and out. But if we give it a long release, it'll basically, I'm trying to remember how this works here. It'll do something like this. So if we do a long release here, test. Test. So it's going to be this one here, test. Test. So it takes like 1 second, 900 milliseconds to lower this. But if I reduce the release time to nothing, test. It does it a lot more rapidly. Test. 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 Whoops. Test. Test. So I'm going to leave this alone for now, but I'm trying to remember how this worked. Testing. Oh boy, I got sidetracked. Okay. Alrighty, I have a scenario here. Let's say you're in a live stream and you want to play some sound effects, such as Godzilla screaming. Now, in a solo stream where you're recording all alone, that wouldn't be an issue to share your desktop audio. But in a multi-participant stream on StreamYard, I tend to mute my desktop audio or else I would get feedback. Now, my alternative would be to tell StreamYard to output the audio of participants to a different device. And I could do that multiple ways. For example, I can continue to share my desktop audio, but I could tell StreamYard to use my, a different pair of headphones. I can use the headphone jack that's built into my microphone. I can use my USB headphones if I wanted to. At least if I was doing playback devices in particular over here. So I would either tell it to use my USB dongle or, you know, something else. And so in the case of StreamYard, what I would want to do is use the headphone jack on my microphone and then continue to share desktop audio the normal way. But you see, I use the virtual camera so that I could basically control my cameras in OBS. Whenever I hit this button, it turns the web, you know, the virtual camera on and off, and the button I'm hitting is this one here. So doing that causes this. But OBS is not listening to my desktop audio. It is not listening to the OBS, I mean, in particular. And so right here, I can hear other people in the stream talking to me. They would normally hear just my microphone, which would have the consequence of picking up background noise. All right, one more time. Alrighty, I have a scenario. Let's say you want to play a sound effect during a live stream. That is coming out of my desktop audio, which would be fine if I was streaming or recording alone. You would see this VU meter light up. But when I join a stream with multiple participants on StreamYard, I'm usually listening to them on my headphones, so I have to mute my desktop audio. But then there's another problem. StreamYard isn't even listening to my desktop audio, so how can I get this sound to come out on StreamYard? Well, I have a couple of ideas. If we go back to my main screen, right when you're about to join a studio or a room or a stream, you get the test VU meter here. You see your webcam. Now I'm using virtual webcam. And so in OBS, whenever I click on this button, you're going to see this. And the way we selected the camera is by literally selecting under camera, OBS virtual camera. This virtual device becomes available when you have OBS installed. Now for my audio device, normally I would use my microphone, and some weeks ago I had a problem where my OBS settings were nuked because I had to reinstall OBS. So when I joined a live stream on a friend's channel on the Nerdporio Lifeform, it sounded like I had a vacuum cleaner in the background. It was because I had no choice but to use the audio coming straight out of my microphone without any filters. Whereas normally when I'm recording or streaming alone, you go here, right click on the sound device, click on the filters. We have a compressor and expander running. And these filters either prevent the sound from getting so loud that it goes into the red zone, which I didn't speak loud enough, but you saw it hit the red a little bit, or to prevent it from picking up background noise like my fan. It's currently pretty faint, but the fans are running and they are making enough noise to be picked up on the VU meter. And if I hit any keys on my keyboard, same thing. So if we turn on both of these filters, there's a threshold of, like right now it's set to -24. So if a sound is loud enough to be heard at -24, the filter will increase the sound with a 3-to-1 ratio. Otherwise, it'll suppress it. And so now you don't hear background noise, but it still makes it so that you can hear my voice. You know, otherwise I'd have to lower the amplitude on my microphone, and that would mean that I either have to speak louder or more closely, or, you know, something has to give. But if you increase the volume on your microphone, it's going to be more receptive to background noise without a filter. So we use a filter. We use two filters, the compressor and expander. But using the virtual camera in OBS does not allow you to get filtered audio from OBS. So how is it that this VU meter is responding to whatever I do in OBS? If I mute, notice that the VU meter stopped moving for a second there when I muted my audio. And that's because of this virtual audio cable, VB cable virtual audio device. If we go to my sound settings, you could right click here, go to sounds, or click open sound settings. After, you right click on the speaker icon. Normally you left click on it to control your volume. If you right click on it, you go to sound settings and you click sound control panel. It's going to open up this window right here. And On the first tab, you're seeing your playback devices. Right now, my speaker, which is where my headphone jack is plugged in, basically my onboard sound card is my main default sound device. You can change your default sound device if needed, or if, let's say, I wanted to use my headset in StreamYard, I can, put on my headset physically, and then I could tell StreamYard to listen to my Corsair USB dongle, blah, 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 right over here. But how does that allow us to apply filtered audio? Well, it doesn't. But VB Virtual Audio Cable does. So the way it works is you download and install this thing. After you've installed the VB Audio Virtual Audio Cable, you'll have two things. You'll have a virtual cable output here under your recording devices and one here. It's a little convoluted, but what it basically does is my microphone sends audio to OBS. OBS in turn provides filtered audio output to this output. Now, I forget the particulars, but I could show you how it works more or less. In OBS, when we go to advanced audio properties, you'll see all of your devices. Normally, I use this to assign, all of my audio devices to track 1 for live streaming. And then when I'm recording, I have the microphone on a separate audio track from other devices like my HDMI capture card or my desktop audio. And this is so that I can adjust the volume level of both of these independently of one another. I find it very convenient and just, it's ideal. I couldn't imagine editing if I couldn't control the other audio tracks. I would find that a bit more frustrating. So anyway, over here for the microphone, it says monitor and output. By default, it would normally say monitor off. So what is monitoring what? Well, I forget, but what I can tell you is when I turn on monitor and output, we can see the VU meter at the bottom lighting up in unison with this VU meter. Now, what if I disable monitor and output? What happens if I turn this off? Well, I'll show you right now. We're going to go back to my main screen, and I want to direct your attention to the VU meter down here. Now, while I speak, I'm going to hit monitor off in 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Now you can see that the VU meter at the bottom is no longer alive because I turned off the monitor function. If I want to turn it back on now, I'm going to click on the same option. I'm going to click monitor and output. So we go back to my MSI, monitor and output on, and now it can hear it. And so what this does is it's receiving filtered audio. If I click mute, it's also going to mute 1, 2. As you can see, when I muted in OBS, it muted this one, even though the microphone was still technically on. And so what it does is it goes from my microphone into OBS. OBS is set to have my microphone in monitor and output mode, or whatever you want to call it. And as a result of having this enabled, Windows audio devices such as the virtual audio cable here is able to hear filtered audio from OBS, which is in turn able to relay to this playback device, which I'm not currently hearing, but clearly it's able to hear me speak. When I join a stream on StreamYard, I would tell it to use the virtual audio cable instead. And this is why OBS can hear my filtered audio. And if I hit mute, and be muted over here and in OBS. Okay, great. But now how does this result in being able to play sound effects? Well, this is where the fun comes in. Now, it doesn't really matter if you have a Stream Deck or not. I happen to have one, so I have some sounds programmed into it. And when you hit the button here, it's going to play it on my desktop audio. If I mute my desktop audio, that doesn't work anymore. If we click here, you'll notice this one is configured to come out of a different output. This is coming out of my virtual audio cable, or going into it, I guess you would say. And so basically when I hit this button now, I still can't hear it, but StreamYard can hear it. And I know it can hear it because earlier I did a stream like this, but I recorded it. And if we play the recording back, that was recorded by using the exact settings that I just shown now. You know, that was exactly how that worked. So basically, I hit this button. I can't hear it on my headphones normally, but StreamYard is able to hear it as if it's coming through my microphone. So that's basically the gist of it. But now, what do you do if you don't have a Stream Deck? Well, you got a number of options. But the simple lazy option, I would guess, is really easy. So if we go, oh goodness gracious. So if we go back here, we can find the folder that this audio clip is stored in. And it's not there. It's actually in this folder. And because, whoops, I'm going to go to it now. Backdrops OBS audio clips. It's on my third monitor. So basically it's playing one of these audio clips right here. So basically, if you don't have a Stream Deck, you can still play audio clips on a stream. There's no real obstacle to it. And we can do it two different ways. If you're sharing your desktop audio, then as long as your desktop audio is on, people will hear whatever comes out of VLC. You can make an entire playlist, save it as a playlist file, and have convenient, individualized tracks in there for different sounds. And in this case, I actually did the same audio clip in different formats just to see if I can identify a difference. The only downside is in a playlist mode, it's going to play every item on the playlist unless you can tell it not to. And I don't know if there's a way to do that. So that plays a single track in a loop. That shuffles the entire playlist. So that would be the only issue, is unless you have a way of telling it. But that's not what's important. Okay, edit note right here. So basically, you can play it here. But if you don't have a Stream Deck, you can play the clip on its own. You can literally just double click on it, even create a playlist if necessary, and play it back in VLC. But how does that help you control the output device? Because right now, it's still coming out of my desktop audio. And so if I mute my desktop audio, now you can't hear it. And so what we can do is we go here, and VLC lets you pick different output devices. Okay, so now we have VLC Media Player open. So basically, in the event, so bottom line is you don't need a Stream Deck to do this. You could put audio clips inside of OBS and map individual hotkeys. You can literally, drag and drop audio clips here, then go to settings, go to hotkeys, and tell it, when you press a certain key on your keyboard, to play an audio clip, and it'll work. Then you just got to tell OBS additional stuff like, well, where does the audio come from? Well, if I drag and drop this into OBS right now, I can literally click play. I can't hear it, but presumably it is being recorded when I hit play. If we click properties, doesn't really give us a lot of options here. We could play it in a loop. We could tell it to start from the beginning. I mean, that's one option. Now, does that get picked up in StreamYard? No, it doesn't work in StreamYard anyway. Now, ultimately, this does not require a Steam. Now, although I'm using a Stream Deck to play these clips, and I was configuring the Stream Deck in order to output the audio to my virtual audio device. You don't need a Stream Deck to do this. If you have VLC Media Player, you can play the clips back on your desktop audio. If your desktop audio is muted because you're using it to listen to other people in a live stream, they're not going to hear it coming out of VLC. But if we go here to the audio device menu, we click audio device, you can tell it to output to any other device. So for example, if I really want, I can say, hey VLC, play this back on my surround sound headphones, which are hooked up via a USB adapter. Now I can't hear the audio, but I can hear the sound coming out of my headphones here, my separate headphones, and I use these mainly for surround sound gaming, or if I want to hear surround sound in a Star Wars movie, I can play it back in VLC Media Player and tell it, for this one movie, for this one item that I'm currently watching, send the audio to my surround sound headphones instead. But we can also say, hey, VLC, send the audio to my virtual audio cable instead. And when I do that, you'll see that this VU meter will light up. See? It was faint, but it lit up. And so that means if I go to StreamYard and I click play again, you see? And this in turn means if we enter the studio and we click record and I join my own stream and I do a sound check 1 2 1 2 1 2, then yeah, I mean, it's coming out of my microphone, you can hear that. But if I mute my microphone, right? If I mute, you cannot hear me. And that worked despite me having muted my OBS microphone audio and desktop audio. Despite muting my desktop and microphone audio, StreamYard is able to record this sound effect. And so if I was in a multi-participant stream, I could hear all of the other people on my main headphones and they can hear the sound effects. Now, the only issue is, like I was mentioning as one of my other concerns, is that I cannot hear this. So if I, hit play, I know you're hearing it only because I tested it out. But what if I want to hear it too? Well, there might be a solution to that. In the Stream Deck, instead of playing it back on my virtual audio device, I can send it to my Corsair USB adapter. Now, if I do that, you're not going to hear anything when I press the button. And I'm not going to hear anything here either. But we can tweak OBS. So right now, when I press the button on my Stream Deck, I can hear a faint sound coming out of it. So basically, when I hit the button on my Stream Deck, wow, it's a little slow there. So basically, when I hit the button on my Stream Deck, it's coming out of this headset right here. And if we go to basically, if I hit the sound button, basically, if I hit the button on my Stream Deck, you can hear it coming out of this headset. It doesn't come to my desktop audio. It's not being picked up on the virtual audio device. But we can go into the settings here, click on properties for the desktop audio, and instead of listening to my default sound device, which happens to be my sound card, my speakers, my headphones that are plugged directly into my tower, we can tell it to listen and record from the headset right here, the surround sound USB adapter. And when I play the same sound bite, you see the VU meter light up, and if I unmute it, it's being recorded as well. And so this is helpful to me because it means that I can potentially play sound bites while I'm using my main default audio device to talk to other participants. That is like the main benefit of that. And yet when I play that audio clip, I can at least hear the faint sound coming out of the headphones that are hanging on my hanger up there. So at least I know what sound effect came out. I know it actually played. Gives me a little bit of peace of mind, but it doesn't solve the whole issue, because now we got to go back to StreamYard. When we go back to StreamYard, we can, oh, we're still recording? Well, anyway, the problem here is as follows. StreamYard is listening to my virtual audio cable because that's how I get it to listen to my filters. So I have to keep using that as my microphone. The only reason this works is because my surround sound is separate from my speakers. That'd be a better way to record this. All right, last take. All right, quick scenario. You want to play sound effects like Godzilla screaming, and you probably didn't just hear it because I had a different sound device selected. But if we select, alrighty, I have a scenario. Let's say you want to play sound effects like Godzilla screaming during a live stream. Now, if you're doing a solo stream, it's basically fine to just do it on your desktop audio. So when I hit that button, it comes out here. When I join a stream with other participants, or in a situation where I can't share desktop audio, I end up having to mute it, you know? And if I mute it, now you're not going to hear that sound effect. But we have a couple of tricks for dealing with that. And so if you're using a Stream Deck, this works, but if you're not, it still works. So, you know, stick around if you don't use the Stream Deck. But basically, when I hit the button for this sound file, it's going to come out of my regular default sound device, which is where my headphones are plugged into my tower. If I want, I can say, hey, output the sound through the Corsair headphones. So I have some USB headphones hanging above my desk. And I don't use them often. I basically bought them so I could watch Star Wars movies and play video games in surround sound. And it was like a Cyber Monday deal. So I just wanted to see, you know, what are the state of affairs with surround sound headphones? Is virtual surround sound worth using? And anyway, I don't use them very often, so that might answer the question. But because they come with a USB dongle, that is, son of a bitch. Alrighty, I have a scenario for you. Let's say you want to play sound effects like Godzilla screaming during a live stream. Now, during a solo stream or a solo recording, that would be fine. You can play it on your desktop audio with no ill effect. When you're in a stream with multiple participants, it depends. Because, like, for example, if we jump over to StreamYard, we can tell it to use my regular output device. And if I do that, other participants in a multi-person stream, I will be able to listen to other participants on my headphones or main speakers. But that would also mean I could not share my desktop audio, because that means anytime someone speaks to me, it's going to come out here and OBS is going to record it. And if I'm live streaming from my instance of OBS, that's definitely going to cause some feedback. If I'm not streaming from my copy of OBS, it wouldn't make a difference, but it also means that it wouldn't matter. It would be a moot point. I wouldn't be able to share my desktop audio through here. So how would I do it? Well, number one, I'm using a virtual audio device because if I use if I use the microphone directly, it's not going to use filters. So I discovered that using this virtual audio cable allows me to use filters. Basically, I downloaded this VB cable virtual audio device. After installing it, it adds additional playback device and an additional recording device to your sound settings. So if we go to Windows Sounds, or we go to playback devices under sound control panel in particular. So yeah, Windows 10, Windows 8, a little convoluted. You go to sound settings, then you click on sound control panel. There is a quicker way to get to it by simply clicking on sound. Alrighty, I have a scenario. Let's say you want to play sound clips like Godzilla screaming during a live stream. How would you get that sound bite to come up during a live stream? Well, if you're streaming alone, it's really trivial because uh-oh, I broke it. Alrighty, I have a scenario. Let's say you want to play a sound clip, such as Godzilla screaming during a live stream. If you're streaming solo or alone, then you can share your desktop audio and people can hear whatever you hear on your headphones and it would all be fine. But if I'm in a stream of multiple participants, then that means I have to join a room. I have to join a studio. And when you first join a studio, you're going to get that VU meter where you test it out. It'll let you go into the settings, and under settings, you can see a little VU meter over here representing your microphone. Normally, StreamYard would listen directly to your microphone. And that would normally be fine, but I have painstakingly set up filters in OBS in order to basically reduce background noise from my fans and to prevent me from getting too loud. So if I speak really loudly, normally it would go into the red zone. One of these filters prevents me from going into the red zone. The other filter makes it so that it goes completely silent when I'm not speaking. And that's dictated by one of these thresholds. And I think it's under the expander filter up here. If I turn off the expander, OBS can hear the faint background noise from my fans. If I turn it on, it does that. And granted, some of the settings can be tweaked in different ways. Like the release time dictates how quickly the VU meter will drop. And I don't know if it actually works. I can't really ascertain the difference, but supposedly it does. So anyway, bottom line is I have these two filters, and when I was streaming from another computer in the same room as my server rack, where I have a lot of noisy fans, it sounded like I had a vacuum cleaner in the background. I mean, just listen to that. And that was because I just reinstalled OBS and I forgot to reconfigure all of these settings, and I forgot how they work. And basically, to use the virtual audio cable, you download and install VB cable virtual audio device. After you've installed it, it adds two sound devices. And if we go to the bottom right corner, in Windows where you have the system tray, normally you would click on the volume icon. If you right click on it, you get this menu, you go to sounds or you go to sound settings. Either way, you need to go to the old sound control panel. So we can click there. Or we could have just went straight from sounds to here. And so bottom line is over here, we can see the playback device. At the bottom, it says speakers, VB virtual audio cable as a playback device. Under recording, VB audio virtual cable is also a recording device. The icon looks a little different, but basically same difference. I think during installation, it gave me like one or two options to select. But once I selected the options during installation, there's no app. Everything happens like right here. Like all of the tweaking basically happens here and in OBS. So how does this work? Well, basically, we start by talking to my microphone. The raw audio from my microphone goes from here into OBS. Once it's in OBS, OBS applies the filters which I've configured. And then normally that would be it. It would record or stream whatever it hears. But if we go to advanced audio properties, there's this option here. Notice for my main microphone, it says monitor and output under audio monitoring. Why did I select that? Well, because it told me to in the instructions for this virtual audio cable. Going back here, take a look at the VU meter at the bottom. If I was to go to that pull down menu and hit monitor off, you're going to see the VU meter stop moving. So look at the bottommost VU meter on the left under speakers. Sound check 1, 2, on, off. Sound check 1, 2, on again. So basically, somehow by turning this on and setting it to monitor or monitor only, even VB audio cable to pick up on it. And so we're going to go back there now and see if we can get some light illuminated onto what's going on here. And basically, it almost makes no sense, but we see it in action. If we go to recording devices, this might make a little more sense, because now when we double click on it, you'll see that it says playback audio through this device. So somehow OBS is allowing this device to be monitored. And I think what's happening is the monitoring is actually happening here. And then it's being picked up over there. And I might even be able to witness it. Yep. Okay. So essentially, the sound is coming from OBS, going into this, then going into that. Now, how does this help us? Like, how does this help us? I know it's a really long video to get to the point here. So it goes from OBS, microphone goes, okay, so it goes from my microphone into OBS, then OBS relays its output from there into here, into a playback device. Then this playback device sends its playback to this virtual audio cable. So essentially, that's why I'm able to now use my filters from OBS as long as I select this option. Otherwise, I could not use my OBS filters in StreamYard. I have to select cable output VB virtual audio cable. Yes, we're using the virtual webcam. That's why StreamYard can see whatever I share. You know, if I switch to this view, this is what StreamYard will see. If I switch here, StreamYard will see this or this. And it all happens because, like, you know, when I switch to so basically, like right there, if I hit stop virtual camera, so every time I click on this button, this is what I'm seeing. But yet you can see now I switch to this view in StreamYard, and that's what you see on my screen. You see whatever this camera sees is what's being seen here. But if I switch to my regular camera, then now that's what StreamYard is going to see. And you might have saw the transition very briefly happen. So virtual camera is really cool. The problem with the virtual camera is it does not carry audio. And so basically, to get the audio, we use the VB virtual audio cable device. And this is also what enables us to have this advantage, because now when I play sounds in StreamYard, I can just tell it, output the audio to virtual audio cable. And then when I hit the button, I won't be able to hear it on my headsets, but StreamYard is hearing it, and we can see that because the VU meter will light up when I hit the playback button. And if you have any doubt that this was just recorded in StreamYard, despite muting my desktop audio, I can demonstrate that now because we can, we're already recording. So I hit end recording. I mean, it went good last time, so I say whatever. We'll leave the studio for this one. We'll go to my recorded videos. This one's currently processing. This one I did earlier, but let's see here. I'll unmute my desktop audio. And if this finishes processing, great. If it doesn't, that's okay because I did it earlier. So all that sound, those two, Godzilla screams, they did not come from my desktop audio. And here we are. We have it here. Stream. The other filter enabled despite muting my desktop audio. I can demonstrate that. So as a result of these settings, it is possible to play sound effects during a stream with multiple participants without sharing your desktop audio. And if you don't have a Stream Deck like me, that's okay. You don't need one. Yes, it's convenient because the Stream Deck will let me say, send it to a different output device. So this comes out of my regular speakers, whereas this sound here comes out of my virtual audio cable. Alternatively, I could even tell it to come out of my USB headset, but this would not help me during a multi-participant stream. This would help me if I wanted to play sound effects without it coming up on my desktop audio. Then I could tell OBS to use this sound device instead of using my speakers. But for a stream of multiple participants, we do not need, and for sound bites in general, we do not need this. If we do not have a Stream Deck to play these sounds back, we don't need it because VLC Media Player offers a lot of the same functionality. So for example, I already opened up this audio clip, and really, you don't need a soundboard. If you have a folder with icons, you can literally just double click on the icon, hit play, and share your desktop audio. But if you're in a stream with multiple people on StreamYard and you have to mute your desktop audio, you can still do it because when you double click on the file, it's going to play on your default audio device. Normally, it'll come out of my speakers. So right now you can't hear it. If I unmute my desktop audio, now you can hear it. And so that's great, but if I have to mute this, it's not going to work. So what do? Well, it's easy. VLC Media Player has a menu. Up in the menu, you click on audio, audio devices, or audio device. And instead of using your speakers or your default audio device, I'm going to send it to my virtual audio cable. And so now when I play this back, you can't hear it. But it's getting picked up on the virtual audio device here and here. So even though I'm not speaking into my microphone to make this light up, this VU meter is lighting up. And so that means if I tell an application to listen to this audio device, like I just did with StreamYard, and I tell another application like VLC Media Player to play it back, it will actually, pick it up. And that's what we see in one of these recordings here. I'm actually in VLC Media Player during an earlier recording, doing exactly that. Okay. Front loading, beginning of last video. If we want to play audio sound clips, let's say we want to play a sound bite like Godzilla screaming during a live stream. As long as I'm sharing my desktop audio, that works. But if I have to mute my desktop audio, then just because I can hear it doesn't mean other people are going to hear it. Even worse off, if you join a multi-participant live stream on StreamYard, this can exacerbate the issue a little bit more. Because, normally we're going to click, on a button to enter the studio. And when it loads up, it's going to detect devices. In this case, it's looking at my virtual camera. And if I click on this button here in OBS, basically clicking on this button turns the virtual camera on and off. Okay, so we're leaving it on, but this does not do anything for audio. So although I have a bunch of filters in OBS for my audio, including filters that deal with background noise, noise from my CPU fan, any background noise. So for example, if I turn off the expander and compressor, that VU meter is somewhat lively. Once I turn the expander on, the sound in the background is going to turn off. But yet it still lets me speak, because as long as the sound, exceeds this threshold, it will boost it by a 3-to-1 ratio. And then I believe it's the compressor that will somehow begin suppressing it at a 10-to-1 ratio, if I'm remembering correctly. I just remember following a tutorial and these settings basically work. So I haven't explored them too much more. The only thing I would do differently is maybe adjust my release time a bit. But for now, for our purposes, the point is that when I'm in a stream on StreamYard, it is not picking up sound from my filters. Normally, you have to select your microphone. And one time I went to join a stream on another channel, the Nerdporeal Lifeform, and it sounded like I had a vacuum cleaner in the background, because I recently reinstalled OBS on my other computer, and that machine resides in the same room as my server rack. And so we had these, noisy tornado fans just drowning out the background noise. And because I lost my OBS settings, I couldn't use the virtual audio cable the way, I'm using it now. Now, how does virtual audio cable work? Well, basically it starts with downloading this. You go to this website, you download and install VB Cable Virtual Audio Device. It adds these two audio devices to your Windows sound settings. And so if we right click on the sound icon, and just for clarity, I will zoom in on it or zoom out on it. We go to the sound icon. Normally you would left click on it. This would control the volume or give you the test tone. If we right click on it, we can click on sounds or sound settings. If we go to sound settings, we got to take one extra step to click on sound control panel. And when you do that, you're going to get the classic control panel for the sounds right here. And this is the more useful way to make these adjustments. So basically what's happening here is I speak into my microphone. It comes up on the VU meter here. The sound from this microphone is in turn picked up by OBS, as you can see in the VU meter here. And then filters are applied to it, which get picked up when I'm recording or streaming directly from OBS. From there, the filters that we did also come out and get picked up on a separate playback device, the virtual playback device that came with the VB Audio Virtual Audio Cable. And the way that works is if we go here, we click on property, right click advanced properties. It says monitoring and output. By default, this is off. But if we turn on monitor only, I've had it on this setting, you'll see a difference. So I'm going to go and turn this off after I switch to my screen. So observe the VU meter at the bottom where it says speakers. This one right here that's lighting up right now. Now watch what happens when I hit the off button. As soon as I click off over here, that VU meter is going to stop. So sound check 1 2 off. Sound check 1 2. Now even though I only muted the audio from OBS. And so, and then we can deck. You're gonna notice that even though I can't hear it and OBS is currently not hearing it, the VB cable lights up here and here, and it's been stream, in Windows. Arial. Switch to this. All right. Okay, now that the recording. Now, but can StreamYard second the button on what happens next? I'm pretty, but can StreamYard stream from my fan of that audio or is it sound camera is what's being us to have this advantage. So device. If you're streaming alone, stream you can hear the sound effects. Now it only is audio. StreamYard is able to record this sound effect. And so if I was in a multi-participating hit now if you're all Method number one would be use the easy option. Do it on a Stream Deck. And since Stream Deck is set to play to my virtual audio cable, when I hit the button, you're going to hear it, or StreamYard is going to hear it. I can't hear it. OBS technically can't hear it right now. So it's not getting recorded in my recording, but it's getting recorded through my web. And if you don't want to use this or you don't have a Stream Deck, is to play it back in VLC Media Player. Go to the menu, make sure, and we hit play. The audio file. I literally took the WAV file and I dragged it and dropped it right here. So now when I hit the play button in association with this audio file, the VU meter comes to life. OBS is recording it this time. So we're going to leave it alone for now. But with that, I thank you for watching. If you have any questions, comments, or ideas, please leave a comment. And for now, we shall end transmission. As for anybody who's watching during the live stream, yeah, I didn't get around to doing the experiment I wanted to do. I was so focused on recording this one video regarding audio, and that's what we ended up doing on this live stream. I might delist it, but then again, I mean, you know, a little trial and error goes a long way, so maybe not. But with that, I thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. If you have any questions, comments, or ideas, please leave a comment. And for now, we shall end.